All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Beezy Show. We're here at NAMM 2024 at the Cloud Mike's booth podcast center. We've been having some fun out here. It's been pretty cool. Had some interesting interviews. Obviously, big shout out to Cloud Microphones for letting us do it here. It's been a pretty cool situation. So, yes, very special guests. Very special guests. Andrew Southworth, how are you doing today?
Amazing, man.
How
Thanks
you
for having
doing?
me.
Nice, man. Yeah. So, also quick right off the top, shout out to B Star. That's my guy, and he kind of connected us together. Basically with Cloud, I told him that we're gonna have a couple pods going throughout the week, so we just kind of hang out, talk shop, and just for me, it's more of just like a hang. We're just gonna chill. We'll get a little more technical, but it's
Yeah.
we're just having conversations. You know what I mean? So yes, very
So
interesting.
I
How is
like
it?
to do my podcast too.
Exactly.
Think
Oh,
of
there
it
you
as
go.
like the Joe Rogan of music marketing. Where
Oh,
it's just like casual conversation, not
right.
like pre-ordered list of questions. And all
No, I know, and that's the thing too. It's like one thing I've noticed about it because I consume like so many podcasts, and I'm mostly just like the ones that I consume mostly are just like comedy podcasts. So those
Yeah.
are like my favorite ones. I mean, I can go down the list of whichever ones I watch, but I mean, it's so many at this point that like
Yeah.
I load up the YouTube, I go to my little subscriptions, and it's just get all of them going.
Yeah.
But it's been good, man. I'm taking a lot of like the ideas from them. And I want to just throw a quick little sidebar as well. You'll notice, guys, when you see the pods, when I release them, I'm not sure if this is like a troll move by the convention, but they literally put a kick drum
Yeah.
thing next to us, so you're gonna hear the kick drum. We're gonna try to like isolate out, as much as we can, but
Sponsored by Isotope
yeah,
RX8.
exactly. We need to get as much of that out as we can, but I think the boys got it under control. I mean, we'll roll with the
Yeah.
punches, but yes. So just very interesting. I've definitely consumed the content and seen a couple of the clips online. I really love what you do.
Thank you.
I think that music marketing is like a huge thing that up and coming artists need to definitely know. I think even when I was, doing my artistry and at the time I was making music, you could have said music marketing and I would have been like, I don't even know what you're even saying to me right now. You know what I mean? So I think that's
Yeah.
a big thing of like getting the awareness out there because it's so important to be an artist, make your music, be passionate about it, and just like have fun doing it. But I think we have to really realize that we're in a different time, as we used to be. We're not as much, relying on, whatever it was, gatekeepers or whatever it may be that was back in the day. But that's
Right.
where we are. So,
Well, a lot of artists assume that releasing your music is like a finish line.
yeah,
In reality, that's when the real work begins, and you have to start actually getting people to listen to your music. And when there's 140,000 songs a day
I know.
uploaded to Spotify and Apple and all that, if you build it, no one will come. Like
Right.
great music does not equal fans.
Right.
You have to reach out there and actually find fans, whatever way that is, whether it's free or it's paid or if it's social media or it's touring or whatever.
Right.
But they won't just show up magically.
No.
Believe it or not.
And I think that's the misconception. I think a lot of people, they just, it's hard, you want to, and I get this a lot from artists that I speak with, and it's like, oh, I just want to create and, the business, I don't want to, and it's just like, I hear you on that. Like, I really do hear you. And it's hard to really have that conversation with people, but man, it's
Yeah.
like, you gotta, at the very least, a social media presence, just create some content, have fun with it. Like, you gotta just get out there some way, and I think that's
Yeah.
the part of it that, like, a lot of people just don't want to get involved in, at least the artists, that I've spoken to that are like the purists. I don't do the business. I just make the music. And I'm like,
Like, great. Well, it's a hobby,
right, exactly.
which is fine. Like,
yeah.
I make music that I release and I try to promote and I try to get people to hear it.
Right.
And I also make music that I just delete.
Yes.
It sits on a hard drive. And
Yeah.
I have in my videos, there's like a bunch of Eurorack synths behind me.
Yeah.
That doesn't make its way into almost any of my music.
Right.
It's there for me for fun.
Right.
It's a
right.
very, very expensive hobby. But,
Of course.
I have some music I make for fun, and I have some music I make. I mean, it's all fun.
Right.
But it's like I have some stuff where I'm like, yeah, this is not like for anyone. This is just for me. And this other stuff, this is for me, but it's also like something that I want other people to listen.
Right, for sure, for sure. And I think there's something in that too of like, you know, I really want to get it into a lot of these artists' heads where it's like, you know, it's I understand that there is that, you know, part of you that wants to just create, but you have to find a way to get out there and make it happen and really get it in front of people's faces. I mean, even down to like performances, you're at a show, you know, plug your stuff, you know, get your socials out. I mean, it's like these small little like interactions of things that just you got to do. I mean, there's just no way around it. You just got to do it, you know. So it's very interesting how, you know, that relationship is now, you know, with social media and everything going on. It's like you got to do both and you got to find a balance. And how do you find that balance, you know?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, people would drive city to city and play shows, and that's kind of how
Right.
they would build fans word of mouth. And now social media is kind of just the place where people hang out.
Right.
So your post, you can kind of treat it like your stage if you want, or you can treat it like your soapbox or whatever. And
Right.
it's like you're posting your stuff, you're talking about your music, because no one else is going to promote it for you.
Exactly.
So you have to be there just screaming. You know, you're not begging people to listen to
Right,
it, but
right,
you're
right.
you're coming up with hooks of why people should check you out. Like a lot of the content that people hate when I tell them to do it is like you're doing a lip sync video in a cool looking place,
Right.
and you might have some caption on your TikTok post that's like, you know, this is the best song for people who just got out of a rough relationship, or
Right.
this is like this song helped me, this song saved my life, or whatever. You know, they're kind of portraying the song in a way that makes it compelling for the listener
Right.
on your social media, and then the algorithms push it out and they attract people and they follow you and check it out. But if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it.
Right. Exactly.
You're
I
not
hear
going to
that.
promote my music, and I'm
For
certainly
sure.
not going to promote your music. I mean,
Absolutely.
unless you pay me to do it.
Right, exactly. That we can work on that.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too. So you know, what are some successes that you're having, you know, nowadays? You know, and it doesn't have to be specific to any platform, but just, you know, there's a couple of things I guess you can say for, you know, the listeners watching, artists watching that, you know, can just kind of get them in a good direction if they're starting off and they want to start getting things moving. You know, what are a couple things that you can just kind of right off the bat say, hey, these are a couple cool things you can do to kind of, you know, get things going.
So I kind of break things into the categories of free and paid, because
Yes.
some people might have budget and some people don't.
Right.
But in terms of the free world, I would say, one, make great music.
Yes.
Your music sucks. You're not going to be able to get fans that enjoy it. Well, you might, but
Right.
not very well.
Yes. Yes.
Release music regularly, so ideally a new song every 4 to 8 weeks, I would say, if you can, if it makes sense. And if you can't release that fast, then batch your stuff ahead of time. So I know people who have spent 2 to 3 years making, you know, 12 to 14, like an album's worth of like amazing material, and then they're trickling it out every 4 to 6 weeks all throughout 2024 and 2025.
Wow.
But they
okay.
spend 2 to 3 years doing that in advance, because it's important to have some type of cadence, because if you drop a song and then don't release anything for 6 months,
Right.
in social media time, that's an eternity. In Spotify
Right.
time, that's an eternity. And then social media, this is another thing that most artists hate. As soon as I start talking about posting social media, a lot of artists throw up or
Yeah.
change the video.
Right.
But a lot of artists I know are posting quite literally 30 to 50 posts per song they release. So they release
Okay.
a song every 6 weeks, and they'll literally have like 40 individual videos for that song that they're
Wow.
posting on socials. And they'll post them on TikTok, they'll post them on Instagram, they'll post them on Facebook Reels, they'll post them on YouTube Shorts, and maybe they have some other platform as well too.
Okay. And this is short form content?
It's a short form,
Okay.
vertically formatted video content. So
Okay.
usually it's like 15, 30 seconds kind of thing.
Okay.
And a lot of time it's just performance content. So like if you're comfortable performing on stage, you're just performing in front of a camera.
Right.
And it could be as simple as there's a cool abandoned building where you live, there's a beach, there's a mountain, there's whatever, and you go there and you have a friend hold your phone and you do a lip sync of your whole
Literally,
song.
yeah.
You cut it up into chunks, you put different hooks on it, and then you do one at the abandoned building, one at the beach, one on the top of a car,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
it is, whatever looks cool.
Right.
And then you have other clips where you're talking about your song, or you're showing behind the scenes content, or whatever. It's a little different for everyone, just because every artist is different, and some people feel comfortable talking to the camera, and some
Right.
people don't.
Right.
Like for example, Connor Price, pretty popular artist
Right.
nowadays, blew up just with social media, doing a lot of kind of skit content. Where he would, you know, I'm going to spin this globe, and wherever country it lands on, I'm going to collaborate with that artist. Then he makes this like obviously that probably took dozens of hours to pull
Of
off
course,
that singular
of course.
video. But there's a whole, there's a lot of stuff you can do that's way more elaborate, but it doesn't have to be that elaborate.
Right. His stuff is pretty. He does all the cuts where he's like making the beat and stuff, and like they're like chopping.
Yeah.
It's like him duplicated in all different ways. Is that if I'm not speaking the right person, I don't know if it's Connor.
I think so.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Because I think I've seen some content where they're like he'll make a beat and like it'll be him playing like the guitar, and then it'll be him playing like keys, and it'll be him playing this, and they like chop it all together.
Oh, actually, that might not be him.
Okay.
But either way, there's other
Same
people that
thing,
do that.
but they're very
and that's
intricate,
Also,
yeah.
like a really intricate video. Like
Yeah.
Andrew Huang is a YouTuber. And he doesn't really. It's kind of a different thing. So he does it more from the content perspective. But he makes these really elaborate sound design performance clips. Or at least he did back in the day.
Yeah.
And now he's one of the biggest like YouTube creators in the music production kind of space.
Yeah.
Well, at least from the circles I watch.
Yeah.
But so that's the social side. You really can't skip the social media aspect nowadays. At least if you want to be an artist, just because it's where people hang out. It's like,
Right.
what else are you gonna do?
Right.
Like that's like saying that you don't want to show your music to people where they're hanging out. You would rather
Basically.
go back in time and drive from city to city playing crappy shows on no sleep instead of just posting some clips on social media.
For sure. And I think it's definitely like a little bit daunting, I feel. I think people like they just look at that, they just open the app and they're like just smashed in their face with like information the minute the app opens, and it's like, how do I become a part of that? Like you have to now be like, I have to become a part of this situation to like even survive musically at this point, because it just is what it is. It's where we are. And I think I'm not sure, I'm sure it's a lot of factors, but I know for me personally too, even just, starting my, situation off and starting the podcast. I mean, this is like very early on episodes here. So I appreciate you for even, coming by and stopping by. It's been awesome. And it's for me, it's like, where am I going to find myself, 5 years from now, with the promotion of the podcast, with, content, with what I'm going to say, the format of the show, what is it going to go? I watch a lot of comedic podcasts. So like those guys just kind of riff and just have fun and talk crap for an hour, and that's, I do enjoy that,
It was like the Backyard Boys, was that?
Backyard Boys.
Those the two funny guys that.
Yeah,
riff?
I'm not sure about them, but I mean, I'm more with the comedians. So Bobby Lee and like Bad Friends podcast, they're awesome. Him and Santino and.
Ironically, a lot of the ways you promote a podcast is pretty much exactly the same as how you promote music.
Cool. Okay,
You cut up clips of what you're doing already in the show, and you might add some captions on it. And
Yes.
you're cutting out chunks you think will be interesting for the
Yes.
social media algorithms. You can also promote it with ads in pretty much the exact same way if you wanted to.
Right.
Like, I have a podcast, and I've promoted it with ads a little bit.
Nice.
And it works exactly the same as if you were trying to use ads to promote a song.
Exactly.
You just
And
get
actually,
some Facebook ads.
I'm sorry to cut you off, and I noticed that because, and this is another thing, right? Because I consume this content, which I love, I follow them now on all platforms. So it's like, YouTube and like, and whatever. I follow them everywhere. And it's funny because when you do that, and I open Instagram, and then I see the podcast that I watch weekly, and all of a sudden they're dropping their clip for the week. Like, hey, episode coming out tomorrow, check it out. They already got the clips out, ready to go. You go on TikTok, same thing. They kind of just cut it all up, cut the pod. And I feel like that's the pod is always cool because I feel like you can just literally just cut it. Just cut a couple pieces off, post it, get it on YouTube, get the full episode out, and then just kind of create content from there. But I do enjoy like the way that they, at least some of the pods that I've seen, how they promote their stuff. And that's definitely going to be inspiration for me moving forward. Like even with our stuff, we'll start to cut clips up, get everything moving. I definitely understand the format, but this is like the first time where I'm actually taking this pod. I'm basically, grabbing the steering wheel at this point. I'm like, it's happening.
Yeah.
We're definitely here right now. So, but
you can
it's
use
been
tools
fun.
like Opus Clip. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Opus Clip. I haven't.
But it's like an AI tool where you give it a podcast and you have one speaker on one side, one another, and it just like gets the speakers, puts them vertical, and it finds the interesting moments of the video using AI.
Wow.
So it makes a transcript, and then it'll find like, we think these are interesting based on the whole transcript, and it'll not only cut out those chunks, it'll cut out the dead space in between, make the video vertical, put captions on it, and then you could edit it if you want, or it'll just spit it out. So you can like upload your video, it processes for 20 minutes, and just spits out like 6 social media clips that are ready to use.
That's pretty cool because I know I've done a couple experimenting on some of these like beta things, apps. not really been the best for me. I've just been always just kind of cutting up clips on my own, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna take a look at that for sure. That definitely sounds interesting. I definitely want to steer it more towards you and your music, and yeah, like how's everything with that? How's everything going with your music and how you're doing things now?
Yeah.
Do you have things coming up that you're trying to get out the door soon?
Yeah. Well, for my own music has been chaotic
Yeah.
over the last year, just because in 2023, for 3 months I was out of commission from kidney stones.
Oh,
So that
wow,
was like
man.
crushed any musical
No, for sure.
aspirations. And then I was still working in the mechanical engineering world back
Okay.
in 2023, which I left in August, and I'm just like full-time music marketing guy on
That's
the internet.
awesome.
But I made a
Congrats on that,
decision
by the
then.
way.
Thank you.
That's
you.
awesome.
But I made a decision then. Like I work with way more artists on their music than I do on mine,
Mm.
and I still am doing my own stuff, but I'm prioritizing working with other people.
Yeah, and that actually brings up a good, because for me that's a tough one too, right? Because I feel like I mentioned B Star, and we work with him, and he finds himself in that predicament, because he
Yeah.
releases music and he does his own thing. We do the music videos, we do the full rollouts, but you do start to see like that balancing act happen where it's like, I'm working on the clients, but I'm also doing my thing and trying to get all this stuff out. What is it for you? Like, what's the balance? How does it look for you? How do you feel, is a way that works for you to make it all happen?
Yeah, I mean, the plan for me this year is I have multiple projects. I have my solo stuff. I have my alternative metal band. I have another dubstep metal band. The plan is just to focus on one of them, probably the alternative metal band.
Okay.
Since we have a big backlog of stuff, it's not just me in the project. So that way I can still use it, because the core part of my content for the music marketing aspect is using my own stuff as case studies.
Right.
And I feel like people like that, because I'm not just like some generic music marketing guy on the internet.
of
Like, I'm
course.
using myself as an
You're in the
example.
mix.
Yeah, and I want to keep that there. And also, I make the music no matter what.
Yeah.
It's like it's a thing. So I'm prioritizing that so I can focus on one project and then kind of take a little bit of a backseat on the other ones as much as possible. Because I'm also involved in a startup record label, and we have a couple
Nice.
artists that we've signed, and I also have an ad agency, and we have dozens of artists we're always running. And you just can't do everything.
Right.
That's one thing I've learned.
Right.
With everything I do, we have like 8 employees now
Mm.
to help me with all the different businesses that I have in the space. But even with that, I can't do what it really needs to be done
Right.
to pull off being an artist.
I
And,
bet.
and like it's a full-time job.
Right.
And a lot of artists, if you do have a full-time job, if you're watching this and you're like, I work full-time and I want to become an artist, you got your work cut out for you, because you're probably going to be working 80-hour weeks. You're going to be spending 40 hours a week at your regular day job. You're going to be spending 40 hours a week on your artist career.
Right.
And probably less than half of that, probably more like a quarter of that, is actually going to be making music.
Right.
The rest of it is going to be content and music videos and marketing and networking and running ads and et cetera. Right, the list
Yeah.
goes on.
So, and just so you know, artists out there, if you just heard what just happened here, okay? This is what I'm saying. This is the kind of plate this guy has in front of him, okay? So, no more excuses about not getting songs and all this and that done. I mean, you're really just out here just taking it, just grabbing it and just throwing it and, doing what you got to do. And I definitely respect and appreciate that, because that's actually a conversation I had on the last pod. Shout out to Lawrence. And, it's tough, having a family and doing, whatever you have to do to put the money on and, doing these things, and, having a passion at the same time to do it is just, it's so tough, that balance, the boundaries with people. And so, I mean, you having all that just is inspiring me to just kind of take my thing and go crazy with it, keep making films, do what we do on the content side, continue to work with other artists. So I definitely,
it's a lot of
appreciate
work.
that. Yeah, for sure.
And if it was easy, then literally everyone would do it.
Everyone, yeah.
And then it wouldn't be something you'd want to do anymore.
For sure.
If it was so easy that anyone could do it, no matter how much other stuff they had going on, then everyone would do it, and you wouldn't want to do it. And there's a lot of sacrifice that can happen if you some people are in a situation, very fortunate, where they're maybe like 20, they're still living at home with their parents, they haven't gotten to school yet, so they don't have any bills and have any overhead. But I've worked with other artists where they're they're in their 30s. I mean, I'm 32. I think
Nice.
you said you're
33.
33. So they're married. They might have kids. They have a mortgage. They have
Right.
a job. And then like there's some people where it's like you might just not want to do this now
Yeah.
because you have too much going on. Maybe wait till the kids are a little bit older, where you're
Right.
not, whatever the thing is. But for the YouTube channel to grow it to what it is now, I basically was working 80 hours a week for years.
Right.
And to do the music and to make my channel, and I don't want to say I've lost friendships as a result of it.
Right.
But I have friends I haven't seen in years as a result of the
Sacrifice.
sacrifice, and that's the reality that a lot of you watching this have
Yes.
to deal with is you will have to sacrifice something unless you're very fortunate
Right.
where you don't have to also work a day job.
Right. That's a big thing. I'm actually very glad that it's kind of been a theme here at NAM, and just like at least from my conversations that I've had on the pods and stuff, it's just like I want to let people know there's always two schools of thought with it. Obviously, some people are like, hey, yeah, have your job, and then once you're done there, start doing your thing. You got to work on it hard. You do your 8 hours at work. You do your 10 at home for your thing, and that's just life. Make it all happen.
Yeah.
But then there's the other school of thought of like, well, you're working for this person and you're not really working for yourself, and you're half in, half out, and that's a tough thing to kind of digest, because it's like, well, God, I'm like working so hard to like make money for my family or whatever it is, my situation, and then I put my other time after work to do what I got to do. I feel like I'm kind of killing it, but it's always gonna be like, you just got to kind of do what you got to do. You know what I mean? It's not really, I think people take it to a place where it lets that kind of talk bother them as far as, being half in or half out because they have a job or they don't. And, again, it's just kind of how your cards are dealt. And if you have a family, if you have things going on, you have to, take care of family, it gets difficult. So as long as you just could, putting the grind to it and just making it happen, I mean, I'm all for anyone that's killing it like that. I always give props to people that are kind of killing it. You're definitely on a whole different level than I am. So you're inspiring me. But
I see so many artists every day that are doing. They care so much, and they put infinite amounts of work into their artist path, and then like they start getting momentum, and then they eventually are able to like quit their job, and it's like, you see what it takes, right? And it's for some people, they went out, they have kind of an easier time,
right?
But like I've seen people who like for years they're just like grinding and smashing their head trying to figure out how to make things work, and then something finally works. But like it's never easy.
No.
Well, sometimes it is.
Yeah, sometimes of course you have your moments, but yeah, I mean, it really is. I think if anything, it's just like enjoying the journey, enjoying the path. I think that's a big one too that I've been realizing recently. It's just like, I mean, there is a lot of stress in a lot of things we do. We just had a showcase the other day. It was a live event. It was nuts. Everyone that came out, thank you guys for coming out. But it's just, it's even that, like the live space. And I have some live, engineers in the building, when we were there at the show, and even with us here at NAM. And it's like, yeah, that's what we deal with. You know what I mean? This is what that shit takes to do, and it's not easy. But, there's moments you can't please everybody. You got to kind of just go with the flow. And, like you say, I'm sure there's people you haven't seen in a while, and it's just kind of how it is. I mean, I think if you just, you're on your path, you're on your journey, and people respect it, then it'll all be good. If you see people again after a while, it's like, hey, what's up, man? Catch up and make it easy peasy. But anyone that kind of takes those kind of things the wrong way, it's like, I can't really help you. I'm just trying to provide, trying to do my thing, trying to progress. So I think it's a cool kind of like conversation that I like to open here and kind of get out into the world, a little food for thought, just to kind of get the, see the idea of like, hey, just do your thing, keep grinding, it's gonna happen, and just keep working on it. So we have a couple questions. I just have some kind of more technical stuff. We have a couple requests since we have you on the pod today, a little more specific. So I'm gonna get those out here for you, and we'll start with the first one. Shout out to Cloud again one more time. These boys are out here killing it, man. They're making it sound great. Kevin's over there being crazy. We're having fun. It's been a fun weekend. It's been a long weekend.
It's been a very exhausting week.
It's been so crazy. it's we got to get this done. We got to get this festival over with, people.
Every single day after NAMM, I go straight to Disneyland, and we stay there until 10 p.m.
That's awesome.
Go back to the hotel and fall asleep.
Absolutely. You go there, get your food, hang out.
Yeah.
I love Disney. Me and my girlfriend will go sometimes, and it's always a blast. She loves Disney, and I'm like, I kind of used to be like, it's cool, but ever since going with her and like her passions, and I'm like, with the parks, I'm like, this is pretty cool. You get a lot of enjoyment out of it, so I get it too. So works out for both of us.
Exactly.
Cool. So I have a couple questions, a little more specific.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get this guy down here a little bit. A little adjustments, if I may. If we can do it, yes. Okay.
Nice.
So I'll start with the first. This question here says, does Spotify have an organic algorithm? Can a person be consistently putting out good music and naturally grow on Spotify, like Instagram or TikTok? I'm not sure of that last part, but yes.
Well, if you just upload music to Spotify and you don't drive people there, people will not just discover it.
Right.
However, if the way that their algorithm is broken up into 3 parts.
Okay.
So there's the collaborative filtering aspect, and what that means is if you tell me that you like Stained and Nickelback, I might recommend that you check out, I don't know, Godsmack or something.
Right.
Because like you like this and like that, you probably like this. So that's what Spotify does. If you send 1,000 people to your song, they say, what do they have in common? Certain people skip it, certain people watch it, certain people save it.
Right.
And then how can we figure out who to recommend that song to additionally? They also do web crawling, so just like Google will scan websites, Spotify's constantly monitoring hundreds of thousands of websites to see which artists are being mentioned together. The third is audio analysis. So they're looking at, if you go to music stacks with an X because they're cool, I guess, you can look up and see the Spotify's interpretation of your song. So what's the BPM? What's the tempo? What's the key? What is the danceability? What is the speechiness of your song?
Right.
You do all these audio analysis
Very
of it.
Very detailed.
Yeah, but the collaborative filtering is important because if you just upload it, there's no data for Spotify to learn who likes this song, who doesn't, what genre is it, etc. So you can't just upload it, do nothing, and expect it to grow like on TikTok, right?
Right.
But if you're uploading it and you're driving people to it, then all of a sudden you start getting the release radar algorithm, you start getting the Discover Weekly algorithm, you start getting radio, your daily mix, on repeat, etc. There's all these different algorithmic placements that'll recommend your music organically to other people.
Yeah.
But you need to actually send people there.
Right. Because they're basically getting that information from the people being sent. They the traffic comes in and then they start to analyze and say, okay, this is what we're getting. This is what we're getting.
So whether you're sending it for free with social media, or you're asking people, like you're touring, or you're driving people there, or you're running Facebook ads, or TikTok ads, or YouTube ads, or you're doing playlist promotion, although I probably wouldn't do that much of that, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Spotify Showcase, Spotify Discovery Mode. It's every stream and every skip and every save is like training their algorithm for who will like this and who will not.
Got it. It's information. They're receiving information, they're building it, and then they're telling you, okay, this is where we're at.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Okay. Damn, that was pretty cool. That was very in-depth. I like that one. Okay, we'll go on to the next. We have a couple here. We got a few, so I'll just kind of ring them off. Okay, number 2 here. Can a person on a budget get good results using Facebook ads? Let's say they only have $5 a day to spend.
$5 a day can be tough. Usually I recommend a minimum of 10.
10.
Doesn't mean nothing can happen. You probably are not going to be triggering the big algorithmic playlist.
Okay.
Just to be honest. I mean, you can, but I've had songs where for $300 an ad spend, the song goes on to get 600,000 streams.
Wow.
Over the course of 3 years, though.
Got you.
So, like, you promoted it for $350, which is about $10 a day for a month, right? And then fast forward 3.5 years, it has over 600,000. But the song did amazing, and it was a very niche genre. It was dubstep metal.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah.
Not every song is going to do amazing. Will it grow your fan base? Yes.
Nice.
Every person you get for that $5 a day to your Spotify is another person that's checking out your stuff. But will it trigger the algorithm? Probably not.
Okay.
So you could, what I usually recommend people do, especially those on tight budgets, is think about how much you want to spend per year, and then break that up evenly per song, but don't actually spend evenly per song. So let's say your plan is, I want to spend $300 a song, which is $10 a day, but maybe you're only releasing every other month. So it's $5 a day, but you're releasing every other month, so 6 releases. If a song's doing amazing, maybe you spend $600 or $900 or $1,000.
Got you.
Songs doing bad, only spend maybe $100 or $50. So you're saving money on the ones that do badly, so you can spend more money on the ones that do well. This really applies for any marketing whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to promote your podcast with ads,
Yes.
or you're trying to promote, like you have different episodes of a podcast, and this one gets you a new listener for 30 cents, and this one gets you a new listener for 90 cents. Are you going to treat both those ad campaigns the same and
Probably
spend an
not.
equal amount?
Yeah.
If you have 2 ad campaigns where you're selling a empirical labs thing,
Yeah.
and one of them is you're getting $20 a sale, and one of them you're getting $50 a sale, you're not going to spend like evenly $5,000 on each campaign. You're going to break it apart to one that's getting you the most sales and has the best return on ad spend.
Got you.
So the tighter your budget is, the more particular you need to be
Right.
about killing those bad performers, so that you have more money that you're saving to allocate more when you're having a winter.
That's awesome. And it's almost like saying you're creating that budget in the year so that you can kind of fluctuate and move and not, because I mean at the end of the day, if you know if that's it, if that's all you have, you gotta go with what's working and then kind of go there. And then if it's not, you push back, and you just kind of keep things moving regardless at the end of the day though.
Yeah, and this is kind of a nice thing, but it's also an annoying thing sometimes, is that the most important thing that determines the cost of an ad campaign promoting a song is the song. Right? So that means like the most important thing is the song. So if it's doing badly, the best and easiest thing you can do is just pick a different song from your catalog.
Got it.
But it was great because that means the song actually matters, right? The music
Right.
actually matters in the marketing, which is beautiful. However, if the thing you care about most is your brand new song that you just poured your heart and soul into, which if you're like most artists, the newest thing you've done is your best song ever.
Right.
That's kind of heartbreaking. But I forget where I was going with this. Oh yeah, but then after that, so it's like different song, and then after that, it's the ads you're using. Those are the next most important. Then after that, it's the audiences you're targeting.
Got it.
Right? A lot of people will kind of flip that upside down, where they focus most of their effort on the audience testing, whereas like focusing on the quality of your ads and your visuals and your campaign is actually going to be significantly more impactful to the performance of the ad campaign than the audiences. The audiences matter. If you're making jazz, don't target people who like death metal.
Right.
But you know, if you're making death metal, like targeting something that's like technical death metal versus like, I don't know, Children of Bodom, or so, like, you know, the artist versus the genres, like those are more subtle. Like they can make huge differences.
Right.
But having one ad that's like the verse and another ad that's the chorus and another ad that's the pre-chorus or the guitar solo is going to make a much bigger difference most of the time.
Right.
And then swapping out the song entirely will generally be a much bigger difference too.
Right. That's awesome. That is awesome right there. I'm very, very, very excited for that one. That's very layered. I know, you know, we're getting kind of in the weeds, but that's just it comes. That's what it is. It's very, you know, you have to be very specific, especially with this. You know, especially too with, you know, spending dollars. It's like, and I feel I've had this conversation too recently with an artist that we're working with, and you know, the financial burnout is a real thing. You know, it's, you put this money into something and it's, you know, not producing, and you know, you keep, you know, releasing music and you keep doing things and it's not, you know, and at a certain point, you know, you got to kind of look at it and say, well, you know, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? There comes a point in time where you got to, you know, make, you know, some big decisions, but I do love that. I do love the intricacies on that one. Okay, I got another one here. Another one. Well, you can't say that around Big Lou. Shout out to Big Lou. He's not here. He's had some run-ins with Khaled. We'll speak later on that. Okay, so number 3, it says here, I've heard people say, don't run ads until you're good at making content. How do you feel about this statement? What advice would you give to someone that sucks at making content?
Yeah. I mean, your ads, specifically like Meta ads or Facebook, Instagram ads, they're just pieces of content that have more impressions. So if your organic content sucks and isn't converting people who like create an impression to actually like care about what you're doing in the video, then it's going to have the same conversion ratio as it does when you start throwing $100 behind it or $1,000 behind it. So if your content sucks, you should probably fix that first.
Right.
Like to a degree. Like if you have an amazing song, sometimes just having a crappy ad with the song playing in it will actually do reasonably well. Like when I say crappy ad, I mean like getting the artwork of the song and making some basic animation thing out of it.
Right, nothing major.
Like just very basic.
Yeah.
I usually tell people to avoid ads like that because they're boring. But sometimes they work.
Yeah.
They work great. But I think it's a good recommendation that if you should try doing the organic stuff first. You should try figuring out content. You try learning about your audience organically so that you can take those skills that you've learned making organic content, apply it to your ads. Take those skills you've learned about who listens to your music and who doesn't, and apply that to your targeting. Just so you kind of cut your teeth with some free stuff before you just start dropping $1,000 a month.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it depends. Like I know people who they're already good at stuff, and so they just jump right into doing ads. But I do see people who probably shouldn't jump into ads yet.
Yeah.
Right? They should maybe take a couple months and dabble with free stuff like social media content and fail a few times so that they fail free instead of failing and spending $5,000 to fail because that's an expensive mistake.
Oh, man. Fail for free. Please, people. Fail for free. I mean, because, and it's what you're saying, too. It's, you know, if the content's just not there and you're expecting a result and then you put money behind it, also expecting a result, it's like, it's probably, you know, you got to switch something up here. You know, it's, you know, you're just not moving in the right direction, you know?
Yeah.
That's a good one. I do like that one. That's an interesting question.
It is. And that's why a few years ago I had Adam Ivy on my channel because he doesn't talk much about ads, and I talk a lot about ads.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing I wanted him to talk about in the video was what artists should do before they do ads.
Oh.
And, you know, I think that's important.
Yeah.
Because, like, I talk a lot about it, so people assume that the only thing I think you should do is just spend a bunch of money in ads and not do nothing else.
No.
But, like, you know, there's a bunch of other people in the space, like Jesse Cannon, Newsformation is another big channel that talks about organic stuff.
Nice. Highly
recommend people learn about the organic stuff and the free music marketing and, like, branding and whatever, in addition to everything you're doing with ads if you have a budget.
Right.
It just helps. Like, if you have $10,000 a month to spend on ads, and you do nothing else but run ads, and you have no social media content, and your branding sucks, and your music sucks, probably not going to go anywhere.
Yeah,
right.
That's,
like,
yeah.
So you need everything, or you need a lot of it. You don't have to do everything, but you can't just have a budget.
Right, and that's important because I think some people think that you can just throw money at it and it's going to solve problems, and that is not the game we're playing. You know, and I think you even stated that where you encourage and say, hey, let's get the free stuff going, do it organically, do what you got to do without the money first, fail, see how you can be better at the craft and making content, and then once you get to a level, because I think what happens too is sometimes, this is the good thing about the creating of content, there are times where you create something and you're kind of getting up, you're taking, you're leveling up, you're learning, you're putting the work in, and you start to see, the fruits of your labor through that engagement. You start to see, it's like, oh snap, after this cool reel, like we did it, we're kind of doing things better. We're doing 4K now. We got a little camera. We invested some money, and so you're starting to see some results. I love that because I think that's kind of where we were. I was at, at a certain point in time when I was helping a lot of these artists. It was very consistently, being consistent, dropping content. It not doing amazing. It's a little, little here and there, nothing major. But once you start to once you break that door open and you start to see what something can do with no money, with just cool content, that's pretty awesome. That's a great feeling. To see that wow, through the consistency of us just trying hard and just being just being diligent and just working on the craft, we're killing it. And it just opened up, and we spent no money on that. That was just what it was, and now that we, see what it is, let's start bringing in some dollars. It makes sense. You're kind of graduating. Let's move, let's go on to the next level. So I do enjoy that one a lot for sure. That one's cool. What do we got? We have another one here. Let me see here. That was number 3. Okay, so have you found success anywhere else with your Facebook ad methods besides Spotify? What if someone is looking to grow their music on YouTube, for example?
Yeah, I mean, in general, if you're familiar with how I run Facebook ads, like your conversion campaign to a landing page using the Facebook Pixel, going over to Spotify, it works exactly the same for Apple, Tidal, Deezer, Napster, YouTube,
All of them.
etc.
Nice.
Works the same because at the end of the day, it's like you have people that like a song that want to go listen to it. The hard part is that Spotify dominates.
Right.
They have a 35% market share in the streaming industry.
Wow.
Compared to Apple's 15%.
Wow.
And Apple is tied with Amazon for 15%, although Amazon, I think they count the Prime people. Like, I have Amazon Music, but it's because I have Amazon Prime.
Right.
I don't listen to Amazon Music.
Right.
Then YouTube Music is like 10, but a lot of people listen to music on YouTube itself. So Spotify just kind of dominates. They have the best algorithm for pushing music out. If you get like a couple thousand people to your Spotify, you might end up with way more than what you sent there. Like in one case, we had this campaign we ran for a client. We got the song, something like I think it was 12 million streams in 4 months or so. 8 million of that came from radio, and 2 million came from Discover Weekly. So we drove 2 million. The algorithm gave us 10 more.
Wow.
Which you don't see on Apple or Tidal, whereas Apple pays better. Tidal pays better. A lot of places pay better.
Yeah.
But most people make way more money from Spotify just because of like the market share and the algorithmic aspect, even though the per stream rate is actually on the lower end for all the different companies. But basically the answer is yes. So basically a long way of me saying yes, you can do the exact same thing, but you might want to consider the whys of it. And the goal is YouTube, you can also run YouTube ads. Although the tricky thing is the engagement with YouTube ads sucks.
Yeah.
You get a lot of views for really cheap, like 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents a view. Almost no comments. You can get subscribers and likes. It kind of makes sense. Like the first time you see a channel, you're not going to leave a comment.
Right.
Especially if you came to it from an ad.
Right.
So I tend to not run ads from Meta to YouTube directly. What I'll do is if I'm promoting a song on DSPs, I'll have like a landing page with Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Deezer, Amazon, Tidal, etc. And not even include YouTube. And a lot of people will still go to YouTube on their own.
Oh.
Because if they like the song and they checked it out, very often they're going to follow you on social media and they're going to go to YouTube and look at
Right. It's almost like instinct at this point. If they see something they like, which is something I do as well. If I find an artist, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Just go on Spotify, do what I do, jump around, and then just go straight to YouTube. Because I'm already, and that's the other thing too, is like, I'm already on YouTube consuming content of my own that I like, and then it's just like, well, let me just go over here, search it out. So it's like a total win-win on that one. That's pretty cool. I like that. That's awesome. That's totally
We had a
awesome.
project that we promoted only the Spotify aspect, and then throughout the course of the year, we ended up with like 1,500 YouTube subscribers and 150,000 views on the videos without ever promoting the video. The drummer didn't even know that we had a YouTube channel until like 6 months in. I was like, hey man, we just hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and like 50,000 views. And he was like, we have a YouTube channel? Like, yeah, like we're not even promoting it. People are just going there because they like the music so much.
That's awesome.
And that should happen, right? Like if these are real people who like your music, you should see that they're not just listening on the place you're sending them, but they're like Shazamming it. They're hitting you up on social media DMs. They're following you. They're commenting. Going to your YouTube channel. Some might join your mailing list. If nothing else is happening, but the one thing you're trying to promote, that's kind of a red flag, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely an indication something is kind of wrong, So that's awesome, definitely. I'll get into another one here. Okay. All right, we got number 6. Okay, we've heard some people getting really great results from Spotify's new showcase ads. What are your thoughts? And do you feel that your Facebook ad approach gives more benefits for the money spent?
I am a fan of showcase and marquee, but there's definitely pluses and minuses of each.
Okay.
So and they have a budget, let's say they have like $2,000 to promote their song, and they're, at least for like the advertising side of things.
Okay.
We'll start off with the assumption that we're maybe only going to do 100 or a couple hundred in showcase / marquee, and then we'll plan for the rest being in ads. But the thing with ads is the price is variable, right? So you don't know what the price is going to be until you run the campaign and it does really well or it does really bad.
Right.
With the showcase and marquee, it's a fixed price per click. That doesn't mean it's a fixed price per listener or per stream, because you might have 1,000 clicks that turn into 700 listeners, or 1,000 clicks that turn into 400 listeners, right, for the same price. But it's generally like a fixed rate. And so what we'll do is we'll launch a little bit of the showcase and marquee, and then we'll launch the ad campaign. If the ad campaign is doing really, really badly, we'll funnel some money away from the ads and back into the marquee showcase. And when we're doing the marquee and showcase, we're typically focusing on the expensive countries.
Okay.
So we'll run it in the United States. We might
Right.
do the UK. We're not going to run into the Brazils and the Mexicos.
Right.
Because we can do it with ads, really, really cheap.
Right.
Sometimes, if you have a campaign that's doing amazing in every country, on the Facebook end, you might have a tier 1 campaign and a tier 2 campaign.
Right.
So you can control how much budget goes to each country pool.
Right.
And then you just don't do any more showcase or marquee after that because you're getting great results with your ads.
Yeah, for sure. If you see it there, then yeah, that makes total sense.
The trade-off with the showcase is the looks like there's like an event going
I know,
on.
yeah.
The trade-off with the
sorry about
showcase
that.
is the engagement's actually not as good.
Really?
Like, it shows up as like a message or like a pop-up on the home screen of the mobile app, and they don't hear the song before they listen to it, so the skip rate's higher. Like the Facebook ads, they hear it, and then they click, and then they click again, and then they get to listen.
Okay.
So by the time they get to your song, they've heard it, and they've had to click twice.
Wow.
So like that save rate's going to be greater than 50%. The streams per listener should be greater than at least a 2, but usually a 2.5.
Right.
When you're doing it from Showcase, the save rate's usually like 15%.
Okay.
So like 5 times less. The follow rate's less. The stream per listener is more like a 1.6. So still a great tool, but I kind of use it in tandem with the ads depending on the performance.
Got it.
And less of like a replacement, at least for now. Who knows how it'll change over the next few years.
For sure. Now, that's an interesting one. I know that was one that was set, and I was still kind of learning on that end, but that was a really good breakdown. Definitely, I'll take a look at that, especially with the fixed and seeing how things work in that way.
Yeah.
Definitely something to look at. And my apologies also, too, because I was like trying to get in. Pretty sure that was Stevie Wonder right over here, just hanging out. He was just hanging out right next to us. So
that explains the crowd.
Exactly.
He's a lot more interesting than I am.
And I think we have one more. We have time for one more before we close her out. Let's see what we got here. Last one. Have you ever seen a song get flagged or pulled from Spotify because a campaign did too well?
No. I mean, we've had some labels like spend 20 grand, 30 grand promoting a song.
Okay.
With ads, and then also do playlisting on top of it, and get 12 million streams in 4 months or so.
Wow.
And no red flags because it's all real people, right? I have seen people get in trouble who are not marketing because there's like this big playlist scam that's been going around for a year now. So if anyone from Spotify is watching this, fix it.
Fix it, please.
Because like these companies will add 2,000 artists to these playlists. Like there's like dozens of these companies doing it. They have hundreds of playlists each. They'll add 2,000 random artists to these playlists, and they'll just send a flurry of bot traffic to all the artists on the playlist. And the next day swap out 2,000 more artists. And with Spotify's new thing, where if you get like 90% bots, they pull the song. If an artist is not doing any promotion and they're just throwing their songs online, essentially 100% of their stuff is fake now, and then the distributor will pull it and then fine them.
Wow.
Which is just ludicrous because there's no recourse for the artist to say like, hey, I didn't initiate this.
Right.
This company added my music to this playlist against my will, and they, what happens if you don't like some artist?
Right.
Like you have beef with this guy, and it's like, okay, let me just send 1 million bots to his Spotify, and his just profile gets taken down.
Wow.
And it's just kind of a joke right now. Like there's literally nothing you can do.
That sucks.
So, but in terms of people promoting, I've never seen anyone like we've seen songs that after promoting them and they get taken off in they're pushing in the algorithm. They're getting like 50, 60, 70,000 streams a day, and mostly from algorithmic sources.
Right.
It's fine.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like and obviously, with the whole, bot conversation, I mean, that's a whole other podcast right there. But I mean, it's very, I think it's just at this point in time, it's just, at least for me, I guess we're kind of in the numbers, we kind of see it. It's kind of plain to see when there's some shenanigans going around. I think, you can just kind of tell right off the bat, especially with some artists. You know, definitely not the greatest look ever to be doing things like that, but
Yeah.
I think people just get sold something that they think is going to be their ticket to, get these streams and get things going, and it's just not the case. I think people need to
I've fallen
understand.
for it before too.
Yeah.
Back in 2019, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just hiring every company I could find online that said they could help, and one of them, for like $500, we'll get you 500 followers and 5,000 streams.
Okay.
And then what happened was I woke up the next day and I had 5,000 streams, 500 followers overnight.
Wow.
I was like, okay, this is so obviously fake. I contacted the company. They're like, oh no, we have like a really curated email list broken up by genre. I'm just like, no, you don't.
Yeah, you definitely
You're
don't.
full of. Can I swear?
Of course you can.
You're full of shit.
Yeah.
So
That's the funny part too. Is I love that you say that, because it's like you have this answer for this this situation that clearly is total bullshit, and it's like, hey man, this doesn't just happen overnight. And I think that's really and that's the other thing about consistency, the hard work. It's like, I think people just get this idea that they could just buy their way to the top, and I'm sure in some situations that is a thing, but it's just not though. As far as music, you have to put in the work, you have to create the content, you have to get better at creating the content, you have to get consistent with creating the content, you have to it's just so much stuff that goes into promoting your music. And so I just and what bothers me sometimes, I guess I like to call them the Captain Cappers, where they just cap talk, another word, because Spotify, it's like, oh, I got this it's like, all right man, but how the hell do you have 200K on all these songs, but your YouTube has like 200 listens on a video?
yeah,
I'm not understanding how this works.
there's one guy I met who he described it as juicing.
Yes.
When he would use bots, and he'd been doing this for a couple of years before he started working with me because he wanted to start doing stuff legit. But he was still kind of using the bots a little bit. And what he would do is he would buy bots in his video and then buy comments and buy likes.
Oh man.
And then he would
the whole thing, the whole
he
package.
would buy followers, but then
Yeah.
every time he posted a video on Instagram, he'd be buying views in every video and buying likes, buying comments.
All the stuff, yeah.
And then he started blending ads where he would like run YouTube ads, but then the comments weren't good, so he would buy comments on this video that had real views from ads. And it took a little bit of convincing for me to tell him that like no, you shouldn't do this. Like, he thought he was making himself look good, which is going to help people be more likely to follow him or help algorithmically. It took a little bit of convincing him for him to not do it anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
He thought it was the right thing to do. He's like, oh, like, I'm a rapper. I need to look big. I need to.
Yeah.
I'm
and it doesn't translate ever. And I think it comes down to even like the live shows. When you get down to the live shows and like in-person situations, it's like you can't fake the funk at that level. I mean, it's like and you hear these like conspiracies of like, I've heard a thing about Russ where he's like conspiracied out or whatever. He's like this whole thing, and it's like, I mean, that may be a situation, but I don't think you can like fake 20,000 fans in Brazil screaming word for word your song. I'm not too sure if you can get that kind of thing on board together. And if you do, you've done some next level type scammery
if
that
you
I've
do
never...
at that point, you deserve it.
Exactly. It's like at that point, it's like you deserve it, dude.
Yeah.
You've scammed to the highest level that I've ever seen in my life. That you deserve this with all your heart, man. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate your time. And if you want to plug away, let people know where they can find you and what you got going on, and we'll seal it off.
Well, if you haven't heard of me, look up Andrew Southworth. I don't know if it's visible in the frame, but YouTube, Andrew Southworth, you'll find me. I have all my links in there. I have I have an ad agency. I have courses. I have consulting. But I like to tell people to check out the videos. I got hundreds of free videos on music marketing, Facebook ads, free stuff, paid stuff. Start there. You might be able to get everything you need for free. If you need me, you can book me. If you need my course, you can buy that. But if the free stuff gets you there, then I'm happy. So
awesome. And I'll tell you what, before we head out, please consume the content. If you want to learn things about how to market the music, check out his music as well. Go on there, check it out, listen. I've watched some videos. I know B, shout out to B-Star. Thank you for setting this up for us.
Yeah.
He definitely is like, I'll walk into the studio and he's just like, watching you. So it's actually kind of trippy. Like you're here. I'm like, yo.
I can't believe that I didn't get to meet him either.
I know.
I was like, who's going to NAMM? And he's like, oh, I am. Stop by the booth.
I know.
So also, shout out Cloud.
Yes, Cloud Microphones. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. Roger, he's out here. I'm pretty sure he was like wanting me to shoot some pictures. So I'm like, all right, we got to get this going. It was just such a good conversation. I didn't want it to end, but I saw some eye movements, and I'm like, all right. I'll move it forward. So thank you so much for being on, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Man.
Take care, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.